Well, hello, folks. Welcome. Welcome. Everybody hearing me okay? Oh, the thumbs up. Nice. All right, look at this. All three of us here, we are bursting with flavor, my friends. I am Cliff. I am theoretically the host of Amped Up with Cliff Schechter, but we all know that's not really true because I have David Schuster here with me, and he's like,
I'm deferring to that guy though, Lawrence.
Well,
Winterman.
we're going to get to that
He's the brains behind the operation.
Well, I just wanted to make sure we introduce everybody. David, he won an Emmy, and we're going to keep talking about that forever. MSNBC, CNN. We got Lawrence Winterman, who I'm not sure. Let's see, how many jobs does he now have? It's like that old skit on what was it, In Living Color?
Yeah.
He is now our CTO, our CMO, our COO. And I probably could make a joke in there somewhere. Lawrence is awesome. You guys probably know him from Gen Xe, from Banner and Backbone, from like 47 other places that he exists. And now he exists with us as a guy who, honestly, we couldn't do any of this without. He is the backbone, if you will, of the operation, making sure that we sound and look good, or at least as good as we can. It may only be sort of blurry and whatever. And then there's me. I'm Cliff. And I never told you this. I wrote a book on John McCain, which is like right here. And I wanted to make sure everybody knew, because I feel like I haven't said it enough.
You are a published author.
I published a book on John McCain. I everybody has to know that. So please tell all of your friends and relatives and everybody you know. Okay. Now that we have all that out of the way, we are here to talk about some stuff. David broke a story a week ago on the whole disgusting Epstein scandal. And what he was finding out was that Republican members of Congress were, they were filling a pant load faster than Donald Trump does on Taco Day at the White House. And they were getting scared because it turns out that, the DOJ had, the Epstein files had images of Trump worse than the ones that have been publicly reported by Michael Wolff. I mean, Michael Wolff said that there are topless teenagers, I believe, is all allegedly, of course. He said on Trump's lap, and there was a stain on his pants on one of them, which I threw up in my mouth just now. Sorry. And worse than that. Yeah. Well, so David broke that story because David does stuff like that, and we're lucky to have him. And we now get, it's like another shoe drops this week. I feel like we're following the breadcrumbs and getting closer and closer. So Lawrence or David, whoever wants to jump in, go for it.
Well, let me start because there's a lot of confusion, even in my own sort of household with family members, about what exactly happened today. And what happened is that the House Government Oversight Committee, which has been doing their own investigation into Trump and Epstein and Epstein's contacts, the Democrats started this morning by releasing some emails, including one email, and this is from the Epstein estate. So just to remind everybody, this is separate from the grand jury materials, from possible videos, photographs, everything that the FBI and Department of Justice have kept and are not releasing. This is simply materials that the House was able to get from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. And that includes some emails, including an April 2011 email from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, his associate, in which he says, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump." And then the girl victim, which is blacked out in the email, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. So this is now the lead in the Washington Post, New York Times, and all these news organizations who are pointing out, okay, in the documents released today,
clearly, corporate media is doing their job?
Yeah, clearly Donald Trump spent time with a girl at Jeffrey Epstein's house for several hours. And so the Democrats have put this out there to try to say, hey, this is just the tip of the iceberg, and we need to have all of the files released. Republicans, I think, to try to muddy the waters a little bit, they then released something like 23,000 documents or emails that the committee
The old
had.
lawyer's trick where you try to hide stuff in the middle
and
somewhere.
the Republican argument is that, look, when these things are taken in context, it's not so bad. There's some reporting that the woman allegedly in this email was Virginia Giuffre, who has never accused Donald Trump of wrongdoing, according to the Republicans. It goes on and on and on. But the political motive behind all of this, I think, is what's so sort of fascinating, and that is today, the Democrats, assuming they're able to hold the 4 Republicans on the discharge petition, they're going to get the 218 signatures through. Adelita Grijalva is going to be sworn in today at 4:00, and then that will trigger a floor vote 7 legislative days from now, or probably the first week after Thanksgiving, when the entire House will vote on whether the FBI files, the Epstein files held by the Department of Justice and FBI, whether all of those should be released. And that's where I think things get really
I think they're going to release more of the asbestos that you wrote about, David, in D.C. from the East Wing of the White House, so nobody can return to D.C. in 7 days.
But
so
to
we
be
can't.
fair, I mean, look, I've been, following a lot of this, and I'm sort of, now I know sort of why Michael Wolff wasn't responding to my efforts to try to get him on this show, because there's some emails about him, and clearly he didn't want to talk about it. But I'm sort of close to this. But Lawrence, I mean, is this? Do you think this is cutting through? Is this making sense for sort of the folks?
And
who
before
are out there?
Lawrence does this, I just said everybody say hello. Lawrence is going to be a fixture, joining us at various times. And again, this is working what we're doing because Lawrence is a crucial part of it. So I could not be more pleased that he's putting his time in and helping us. And it's kind of cool that he knows all this other stuff, this gibberish kind of technical bullshit that David and I don't know, but he's also really smart about politics. So we can have he's a Renaissance man, really, you could say.
Cliff, I told you, man, you got to stop flirting with me on camera. It's just come on, bro.
It's bearded men. I can't, as you know, I love big men with beards.
I've heard that about you. Yeah. The emails today are absolutely cutting through, David. Like, how can they not? People have been kind of on the edge of their seats with the Epstein files at this point. Everyone, it feels like everyone knows that Adelita Grijalva getting sworn in today in 2 hours from now. People have been waiting for this literally for 7 weeks at this point since she got elected, because we all know that she's going to be the 218th vote on the discharge petition. I do love that it's 7 legislative days that they have to wait, which is basically like bank holidays and, a Tuesday if it's a full moon.
It's Arbor Day. You can't vote.
Right. Oh, we couldn't possibly do it the week of Thanksgiving and blah, blah, blah. But what I think is really interesting here with that email in particular, the 2011 one, is that was exactly when Trump was breaking through on Fox. He had just been named as a weekend co-host or something. He'd been given a show on Fox, so he was already on The Apprentice, right? He was already, had turned that into a cultural juggernaut. And he was already being mentioned as a possible 2012 contender to take on Obama. And so he'd been given this spot on Fox. And so this email from Epstein to Maxwell is basically talking about him right as he's breaking through onto this bigger platform, potentially to set him up for a presidential run, which we all know he didn't do in 2012, but he certainly did in 2016.
Now, Cliff, the political play here by Republicans seems to be, okay, we're going to release everything on the House committee so that we can say, oh, there's no need for the FBI and Department of Justice to release their documents because we want to protect the victims. And look, we've released everything. And maybe this effort that it somehow gives Republicans in the House some cover, not only to oppose the discharge petition, but to vote no on releasing the files. Does that fly politically in your estimation?
No. I mean, the question is, we're dealing with people. We know what they're willing to do, which is virtually anything, especially if this is as bad as it would seem to be, to keep it under wraps. My bigger question is, who do they have? They've got Massey, Mace, Boebert, and MTG.
Yeah.
Who is it that they target? I suspect it's Boebert, but we'll see, to try and work all week on to get them to change their vote, offer every single incentive and disincentive imaginable to humans. To want a free flight on one of Elon's, actually, they would probably blow up, but that'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be like the Challenger, but funny. No.
Secretary of Defense, Vice President, Secretary of the Treasury. You take your pick, Lauren, whichever cabinet position you want.
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
I mean, they've delayed it long enough. That's kind of what I feel like the game is here. Because again, the other part is just sort of in the short term because they realize the attention span of corporate media and all that is, dump a bunch of other files so some reporters find some other crap to write about and talk about. So it's not like a full-on discussion of this. I think that'll fail unless in anything else they released there is something that is remotely that compelling in a disgusting way.
Do you guys think
ahead,
at this
Lawrence.
point do you think, I mean, at this point, could they possibly distract anymore? I think the Epstein story, it's big enough that it's got its own heartbeat now, right?
Yep.
I don't think that they can distract from this in any way. And I think that, if in fact Mace has been flipped or one of these other people gets flipped, that a vote to not follow through on the discharge petition, it's going to land like a lead balloon. Like people are going to be up in arms. Everyone is expecting that we're going to get to see the Epstein files within the next 2 weeks at this point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, it's not going to happen that way because once it clears the House, then it's got to go to the Senate, and then even if the Senate approves it, then Trump could still defy it, and it goes to the Supreme Court, and on and on and on. But one of the things that was sort of pointed out to me that I think is so intriguing is, and this is some terrific reporting by Allison Gill, who we've had on our show, Cliff. Before.
We have, yes,
and she did some remarkable. One of the reasons why members of Congress have apparently been told by their back channel contacts at the Department of Justice and FBI that this stuff is really bad for Donald Trump is because the universe of people at the DOJ and FBI who have seen this stuff is huge. And Allison Gill did some reporting where she noted that back in March, Pam Bondi assigned something like 1,000 FBI agents and Department of Justice staff to scour through these like 300,000 pages and documents and photographs and videos and literally flag every time Donald Trump is either pictured or mentioned. Well, Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel at the FBI did such a lousy job in terms of maintaining some security or control over these 1,000 people that literally initially everybody had access to everything. And so rather than keeping things compartmentalized, which you would think you want to do if you're Pam Bondi, you want to destroy things or shred things or make sure that things never see the light of day, you have all these people now at the Department of Justice and FBI who saw this stuff. And many of them, of course, have survived the purges from, the Bondi administration and the Trump administration. And so the stuff is all over the place. And that's one of the reasons why it's sort of one of the worst kept secrets in Washington.
Isn't it also in other organizations? I mean, from at least from the implications of what you reported. So, hey, I can ask you directly because I have you on on your show. Hey, David, I have you on your show. I mean, it seemed to me like it said the DOJ was one of many. And before I let you talk about like if there's other American organizations, I mean, I'm sorry, if we have it, the Kremlin has it, and Mossad has it. So let's start with that.
Right. Particularly if you want to believe that Jeffrey Epstein was doing some sort of intelligence work for the Israelis and the Mossad, then yeah. And so there would be, the reporting is also that many of these files, not all of them, but many of these files have been copied and kept at several government agencies. And you would presume maybe the CIA, maybe the National Security Agency, FBI, Department of Justice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when you have multiple copies in different government agencies, and you have 1,000 people within your own agency, Department of Justice and FBI, that have looked at this, there's no possible way to think, oh, we can keep this stuff away from being publicized. We can shred everything and be guaranteed that it's all going to disappear.
What do you think, Lawrence? You're the technology guy.
I mean,
Amazon, Microsoft, all that. So talk to us, dude. Can it be disappeared, or will there does the internet always truly remember?
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing that we should all expect is that there are multiple copies of this stuff, right? And the next sort of battle we're going to see, if and when everything gets released, is going to be the redacted, scrubbed DOJ version of everything versus the alleged Mossad or MI5 or whoever else has it, right? The other departments that might have it. You've got to know. The
entity from Mission Impossible, I think, has it.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If nobody
Hugh,
saw that movie,
you know,
that
from the
joke will
Bond
fall
series
flat.
has it. Yeah. You know,
Exactly. Like Hal has it from what do you call it?
totally.
2010,
Yeah.
2000, whatever. I'm getting,
2001. Yeah. It's an
All right,
it's an
I'm fucking
historic
my
thing.
jokes up. You go ahead and talk, Hal. Or Hal. Yeah, there you
No,
go.
I
I'm not
mean,
even drunk. Go ahead.
we're
Sorry.
living in the age of disinformation and misinformation, right? And so, you know, I think there is a very good possibility that stuff does eventually get released that, you know, it's going to be like, well, which version do we believe? Copy A, copy B, or copy C? And that's a classic Russian disinformation tactic anyway, to like
Yeah.
thread real stuff in with the fake stuff. So yeah,
They don't
I
want
think
even just fake. You're absolutely right. What they want is you to not know what's real and what's fake.
right.
So they want
And
a
that
lot.
also
They want
sets
some.
up that
Yeah,
also
go ahead,
sets
David.
up the potential Donald Trump defense that so many people have suggested, and that is Donald Trump. If there's anything incriminating, particularly in videos or photographs, say that's AI. That was done by
Right.
the Democrats and
Yeah.
or by people who are my enemies. And there's a part of the U.S. population, the true Trump believers, who will believe it. The
Oh, of
question is,
course.
what about what happens to the elected Republicans who might be in swing districts or districts that have been leaning farther away from the Republicans
Yep.
or tough
Or
battles?
even
What do they
hardcore
think? Do they
MAGAs
think
on
that,
the right, like the Nazis, the Fuentes crowd, who hate him from the right and are shot. So I mean, there's a couple of factions that, for reasons, are angry about it, and that's the thing, David. It's like, yes, is that core group of MAGA morons? Are they going to still support him? Of course, and you know that may be enough in 50 to 100 House seats, and that may
right?
be enough in, sadly, the way our country works, where you have 3 cows and a human, and you get 2 Senate seats if they drew something there. That may work in 25 to 30 Senate seats, but it ain't going to work in enough places. Because again, if you're getting 5 to 10% peeled off from the crazy Fuentes right, if you've got whatever percent getting peeled off from the middle, 5, 10, 15, 20 from independents and moderate Republicans and what do we call them these days? Reasonable conservatives, whatever the hell, give it whatever you want to call it. If they're losing those folks, these swing districts, they're dead. It ends up looking like it looked like last Tuesday, where Virginia, a state that leans Democratic by about, I think, 3 points, maybe 4, you win by 16, and you
Right.
break the record for state house or state House of Delegate seats in a state like New Jersey, where everybody's in this massive anti-incumbent mood, and the governor is Phil Murphy, who's a Democrat, has a mid 40s, I believe, approval rating, and you control the state legislature too, and people are pissed at them. Yet, even when they're pissed at the fact that all Democrats controlled New Jersey, they look at them, they look at Donald Trump, and they're like, yeah, Mikey Sherrill's going to win by 13. I mean, that tells you how many people are turning on him, either not turning out or turning against him, from some of whom used to be core MAGA base and have gone away to the right. These are
And I
not
think that's
people we would be friends with, but in an
And I think
election,
that also explains. I think that gives some legitimacy to the. I mean, right now it's sort of speculation, anticipation on the Hill that there's going to be more than 100 members, 100 Republicans who are going to join the Democrats in the stampede to vote for the release of the Epstein files, if in fact the discharge petition, forces that vote. Because you get the sense that there are a lot of Republicans who are now looking up and feel like, okay, there's got to be some way I can inoculate myself from Trump and from what I don't know.
I
And
thought
for
they
all
didn't
the
believe in
rumors and
inoculations,
speculations,
though.
well, and for all the rumors and speculation on the
Sorry.
Hill, and from everything, all the reporting, we don't know exactly what's in the Epstein files, and maybe Donald Trump doesn't know either. But for the Republicans who are thinking, oh my God, if it is worse than what Michael Wolff has described, if there are videos of Donald Trump from when he was alone with girls at Epstein's mansion, how can Republicans distance themselves from Trump to protect their own career and survivability in the midterms? And I think the way it starts is by them being able to say, well, I voted to release the Epstein files. I didn't seek to protect Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's not inoculation, Cliff. It's the ivermectin of
Well, I hope
But-
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. releases using that shit, because brainworms. But go
right.
ahead.
That's why the brainworm died, right? Ivermectin killed it off. Cliff, you were talking about this morning, that we need to start thinking about the idea that this could actually be the thing that ultimately does get Trump impeached, right? Like if, David, what you're saying is right, and upwards of 120 Republicans are going to try to ivermectin themselves during the midterms by voting to release the files. And there's real stuff in there, like this email that literally is Epstein saying Trump is the dog that hasn't barked. Like, he was with the victim at my property for several days. Like, come on, that's such a direct tie.
Right.
I think maybe we
not
get
to
the
mention
point
the
where-
images themselves that David and others.
Well,
Michael,
and keep in mind, Virginia Giuffre gave several interviews, and I think one to Gail King 5 years ago, in which she said Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell videoed everything.
Of course,
Every-
they wanted
everything.
blackmail on all the most. And I'm sad right now because I want to say, where's our friend Ellie Leonard, who also reported some new
Right.
information last night in an article. She had one of the victims reach out to her because she's doing such she has like a daytime job, 4 kids.
Right.
I just feel lazy, if you know what I'm
She's a
saying,
superhero.
Lawrence. I feel lazy is what the problem.
Here's the truth I've discovered about this world. If you ever want anything done, ask a busy mom, right? Like, I'm sorry to say, it's not us. It's not white guys that are getting a lot of shit done. It's a busy mother who
White
is
guys.
taking.
We get stuff done. It's just
Oh,
all
tell-
bad
tell
shit.
more about
We
the
get
Ellie
plenty
Leonard-
done.
Tell
We
more
get
about the Ellie Leonard
genocides done.
reporting.
We get slavery done. I mean, we get all sorts of shit done. Just none of it actually really does any. Well, none of it's good. How about that?
Yeah.
Well,
But
tell
the
me more
Maria
about
Farmer
Ellie's
story,
reporting, because,
go ahead.
or either of you, tell me more, because I glanced at it and I saw it, but I didn't take a deep look. And what did Ellie report last night?
Yeah, so basically, Maria Farmer, who is the woman who was held against her will at
Wexner or Black? or
Les Wexner's estate, and whose sister was later also held at the estate.
God, I know where that is here in Columbus, Ohio. Ew.
Yeah,
Just fucking ew.
So Maria Farmer reached out to Ellie and basically said, "I like your writing. I like what you're saying. I think you get it." And they established a relationship, and they have been talking back and forth. And Ellie wrote a piece last night about additional elements of Maria Farmer's story. And she showed it to Maria, who said, "Yes, this is good. This is right. Please publish this." And Ellie did. And word is that Sky Roberts, Virginia Giuffre's brother, has read the article and he approves of it. So, essentially what Ellie portrayed in the article, what Maria told her, is that Ghislaine Maxwell literally threatened her, like repeatedly, essentially saying, no one will believe you. You can't come forward. Pete, we know where you are. We know that you jog on whatever, the West Park, freeway every day. Like, you should expect that people would be following you. You'd never know it, Maria. They'd come up behind you and shoot you in the back of the head twice, like Mossad does it. Right. And it's chilling. It's chilling to read it. And you realize this woman literally had her life threatened repeatedly. You understand the fear and the just absolute sense of oppression she must have been living with, because Ellie did such a compassionate and heartfelt job of helping to flesh out Maria's story.
And let's add in the part where, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was MI5.
Right.
So, like, when she makes threats like that, it's not just like somebody trying to, sound tough. She knows from experience, and maybe that was an empty threat. But when you're talking about somebody who has massive connections in the intelligence community, maybe it's not. And that ends up being a direct threat. And again, it's more corroborating evidence to this, even if it's not specific. I don't think any of us here are just like, God, I hope not. All we care about is what Donald Trump did. I want every one of these motherfuckers who did this. And if there are people that I supported previously, as I've mentioned before, or worked for, they're included, because I don't make exceptions for people. I don't give a shit. Kids are kids. And if you did this stuff, you should rot in hell. But that we can't control. We can control that you rot in a prison cell. And, again, the fact that here's another person who is corroborating more aspects of the Ghislaine Maxwell story here, who Trump's, thought about pardoning, moved to a minimum security prison, just talked about great concern for her because what she's gone through. It's sickening just even that Trump said any of those things and has helped her out as much as he did, even if he personally had nothing to do with the Farmer case, which we don't know. I'm just saying if he didn't.
But it also goes to show, I mean, that the character, and look, we've always known that the character of Jeffrey Epstein and presumably Ghislaine Maxwell, but it's, it's one thing, of course, to abuse people, and then it takes it even further when you're threatening their life if they talk, if they want to, if they want to complain. And so to me, it does a couple of things. First, it shows that, the Ghislaine Maxwell effort to try and get a pardon, you would think that maybe all of this puts enough pressure on Trump to realize if he pardons Ghislaine Maxwell, then, there's all kinds of, impeachment, Republicans suffer at the midterms, all that, there's that issue. But the other part about it is Jeffrey Epstein was Donald Trump's best friend for 15 years. This is the person that Donald Trump was associating with and hanging out with. And so.
And they fought in the end, and just to make clear, because he's tried to lie about this,
right.
They ended up over a land deal. Is what the breakup was between these two assholes. It was not anything to do with any disapproval of Epstein's behavior, of course, which allegedly Donald Trump was engaging in much of. But go ahead, David.
And look, I think we can put to rest the idea that Donald Trump didn't know what was going on. Of course he knew, and these emails that released show that Donald Trump knew what Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were up to. Now, is that enough? Is Donald Trump's knowledge about what his pedophile friend was doing to other people, or what Donald Trump may have been doing, is that enough to sway people politically? I'm not so sure. But again, it does enough, I think, to convince members of Congress we've got to see everything. We've got to see the files. We've got to see what the FBI and the DOJ collected. We need all the photographs, all the videos. And,
right. Well,
I guess there's still a possibility that maybe some of this doesn't get released for a while, that even if the House passes it,
sure,
the Senate passes it, Donald Trump still refuses to abide by it. It goes to the Supreme Court. You're back to sort of a Richard Nixon situation when the Supreme Court finally ruled against him that you have to give this material up. And otherwise you're going to get, and when he refused, that's when lawmakers said, you're going to be impeached. And he finally resigned. I don't think Donald Trump would ever resign, but it feels like we're on that kind of path.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way, assuming we can de-Schumerize Democratic leadership, and come out with a bold message about anti-corruption, but it ties together democratic freedoms and economic freedoms being stolen from us by billionaire oligarch Jeffrey Epstein clients, and and that kind of thing. It should be the easy. I mean, again, if we can have a bold message going out there, this can completely upend everything. I don't care what the lines say. I don't care if it's we talked to someone like Haley Schaffner from Arkansas, who, remember that, David, who was just family farmer, 6th generation. Her farm was like put out of business by their stupid tariffs. Just charismatic and brilliant, and a regular person who was like going after the insider Democrats for ditching Arkansas too. I'm telling you, in a kind of atmosphere where the economy sadly ends up where it's going, because who was it who just estimated that we probably lost 50,000 jobs? Some major organization.
Goldman Sachs, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was Goldman Sachs. Even Goldman Sachs is admitting that, because of course BLS doesn't exist anymore because it was inconvenient. If we keep having this is what happened during Carter. This is stagflation. I mean, we're not just having massive inflation. We're not just having an economy heading into recession where folks are being fired and losing their purchasing power and all of that. We're having both. Businesses going out of business and farms and, the rest of them. And so you see that happen, and this Epstein stuff comes out. Like, you're going to the factions on the right are going to explode, because they've always been kind of taped together by just a hatred for the left. And
you imagine, you can imagine, look, even if Donald Trump is still in office and if they're still fighting over the Epstein files a year from now, but let's just suppose Democrats take control back of the House, maybe the Senate, all of a sudden the Democrats can have oversight hearings, can put a lot of people under oath, and put a huge sort of focus on all of these issues, on the corruption, on the ICE raids. It goes on and on and on. That's how powerful the party that controls Congress really. They get to control the floor. They get to control the agenda. But I want to get back to something, Lawrence, you said, which was so interesting. And you pointed out that maybe this is the thing that finally brings Donald Trump down, because it occurred to me that if you look at the circle of people who were close to Jeffrey Epstein, the only person who has not been brought down by this is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I think it's inevitable that he will be brought down by this because, and you could argue, oh, well, what about, this billionaire or that billionaire? Well, even, Wexner and Black and all the rest, they were stripped from various boards that they were on.
Don't say stripped.
To prison. It goes, yeah. So, I mean, I think that this is the story that eventually does catch up with Donald Trump. The question is, how long does it take?
Well, and I want to say alleged quickly, because we don't know for fact, but I will say one other person who I don't believe this has done anything to yet, whose name just keeps popping up everywhere, is Tony Blair.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and again, I want to say alleged because I don't, again, where's Ellie when we need her?
Right.
But I mean, and you're right, David, I'm not taking away from your point. I mean, Donald Trump is currently somehow president of the United States, by far the most powerful person who hasn't been taken down. But I think there's some other pretty big names. Yeah. I think we're going to be shocked by some of the names that are going to end up coming out when this comes out.
And speaking of Ellie and tying a couple of these threads together, one of the things that Ellie has talked about, and I hope I'm not stealing her thunder here, because she's been pretty open about this, is, the word on the street, as we've talked about, is that everything in the files is worse than expected, right? It's worse than we could imagine. And that's not just the pictures and the descriptions and the victims and everything. It is also the fact that apparently the Epstein client list included major players on Wall Street, like that essentially every major financial institution upon which the bedrock of the American economy is built.
Didn't Jamie Dimon, whatever his stupid name is, that pop up in there?
Yeah.
I feel like, and I mean,
Jamie Dimon, there's a guy, Jess Handley or something, I think, who was the previous CEO, who is like the emails that he and Epstein traded were practically romantic in their flowery adoration of each other, right? And so Ellie's point was that it's not just the sex piece, it's the financial entanglement and who was letting Epstein get away with all of this.
Yeah.
Because he was making them money. They knew.
And they were helping him launder money, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think it was Ellie or somebody reported that that Epstein had something like 87 or maybe it was 187, whatever it is, different accounts, checking accounts, just with Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
With one bank, you got 87 different accounts. That's of course you're engaged in money laundering or something. I mean,
nobody could figure that one out. Everybody tends to have that many businesses.
I mean, I do. What are you guys doing?
The worst part is, like we have seen, and this nonstop assault on American institutions by Trump, by Mitch McConnell before him, let's be honest, the judiciary, the Senate, or whatever. It ain't just Trump. The Republican Party has assaulted numerous institutions. I mean, they were going after public television when Newt Gingrich was there. So some of these things have been long time things that they've been going after because they were either these organizations that were either doing good, which they need to get out of the way so they could do their evil, or were actually reporting on them or that kind of thing. To me, that one of the really bad things, and again, just a whole nother reason why I keep repeating the FDR moment thing, where we are going to need a massive groundswell for not just major reforms of current institutions, but creating whole new ones, is that think about, like, I know you're talking about the financial side of it, but dude, I mean, think about someone like, and we only know the name Dershowitz at this point. Think about what's going to happen at major academic institutions. Yeah, think about what's going to happen at major law firms. Basically, just think about everybody that's kowtowed to Trump.
Yeah.
Chances are the same places. I mean, the church, I'm sure, and I shouldn't say the church, many churches, temples, mosques, you name it, religious institutions, there will be people there who will be involved in this. Nonprofits that had CEOs who are ostensibly doing good, helping children, helping poor folks, get food, whatever. They'll be in there. I mean, it could end up discrediting, like the basic fabric of our whole, of really everything we do in virtually every sector. And I don't know how the hell we answer that, except for with the largest sort of kind of change that we've seen in about 100 years. Because if we don't, the people that already, for good reason, do not trust American institutions, do not trust America as it currently exists. My God, is this going to put that on steroids?
Yeah. So, Cliff, are you saying that the way to win the hearts and minds of Americans for the 2026 election isn't by caving after 40 days and throwing away every bit of leverage that you've built that you're going to protect
Well,
Americans'
I
healthcare?
find generally it's very smart if what you do is you say, I think what we'll do is we'll make people not get paid for 40 days,
Mm,
but then we'll make a deal with no changes from what we could have done 40 days ago. So they weren't paid and were suffering for 40 days for nothing. And then I think we'll send out Gene Shaheen to say, well, I mean, what difference does it make at this point? If 40 days couldn't do it, why would 50 days? And then you feel like saying, well, then why would 30 or 20?
right.
Why the fuck did you start the whole thing if you
Yep.
didn't intend to finish it? And then you'd have Tim Kaine, who comes from Virginia, where we just won 65 state House seats and won by 16 points. You're like, hey, you were once vice president, fuckwit. What is it you were looking at from last? I'm sorry, I'm angry. I apologize. Like, what were you looking at last Tuesday? And then you look at John Fetterman, who, as I keep saying, ends up being exactly the guy you thought he was when you first looked at him. And we win, 3 state Supreme Court seats in enormous fashion. And my personal favorite, I keep mentioning, the DA in Bucks County, which the Democratic Party had won before in their defense in 1891.
Right.
I mean, when you have those kinds of wins, and then you see your own people, I mean, they need to all go. Thankfully, 2 of them are retiring, but the rest of them, we need an organized effort. Everyone, I don't care if it's not till 2030. Every one of their asses needs to be primaried. Chuck Schumer's leadership needs to be challenged. Chris Murphy's been speaking out in a way that I'm telling you, you can tell that even some of the norms around in the Democratic Party are changing. Because Chris Murphy, a few years ago, as much of like a guy with integrity as he seems to be, would never have said some of the things he said. He has gone straight at the deal, insulted it. He's really insulted his own members by saying they have screwed everybody over. And by extension, Schumer, because everybody knows Schumer was behind it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to say something really unpopular right now, probably, which is this is not the moment to be pulling away from the Democratic Party. This is the moment where if you have never gone to your local Democratic Party meeting, if you've never gone to, the whatever county Democrats or the 36th district Democrats or wherever you are, now is the time to go. Now is the time to go get yourself elected as the precinct committee officer, get to know your neighbors, actually start doing the work on the ground and take over your local Democratic Party meeting. It's what the Dean people did after 2004. It's why Dean became the chair of the DNC and enacted one of the most effective 50-state strategies that we've seen in the last 20 years.
I would say it's why we're in hell right now, because the Goldwater people did it after they lost in 64, and they kept going and took over. I want to kick it to you, David, but I want to say, because in no way should what I've been saying there been taken that way. What I'm saying is those 8 idiots, Schumer and whoever else is around them, they are out of touch with the Democratic Party. They represent a Democratic Party from 20 years ago that no longer exists.
Yep.
The grassroots showed who are Democrats on No King's Day. The grassroots again showed who's voting for Democrats overwhelmingly. And there are so many states we haven't even talked about, passing gun regulations and voting rights in Maine, and things like that on the ballot. Like, winning in California with 5, 6, 7% on that ballot measure. I mean, you've got this group of elitist, like mostly, I'm sorry, but they're mostly a gerontocracy. And I don't say it to insult older folks among the grassroots, because older folks among the grassroots are with us. Right. Basically, everybody is with us. Like 80, 90% of our grassroots are regular party members. And then I would say, are everybody, for the most part, in our party, there's exceptions, who's elected and like under the age of 60. It is just this last remaining group. And because they have seniority, they're in power. And if we can move them the hell out of the way, this party is ours, folks. If you walk away, you hand it over to the minority of folks who are leading it right now, instead of taking it over like we should.
And because of this hunger to get rid, I think because of this hunger to get rid of the establishment, to bring in new voices, I think, Lawrence, your point is even more important, because I think never before at the local level, grassroots level, has there been a better opportunity for people who have not been involved in politics to say, hey, I want to be engaged. And there's a whole community of people who are like, yes, let's get rid of the dog catcher who's been there for 20 years. Let's bring in somebody new who's never been involved in election politics. Let's find a new mayor. Let's find a new city council member. And so for everybody who feels like, oh, what can I do? Maybe I should get involved. Yeah, this is the time to take your sort of frustration, our frustration, and say, okay, I'm going to be involved in my community. I'm going to get involved in local politics because the water is warm for everybody. And this is like the warmest the water has been for somebody who's new.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Go to the Euros events and just say, I hate Chuck Schumer. You'll be elected right away. I mean, it really won't. There's really not a lot of messaging that's involved in this.
Didn't that happen in the mayor's race in Seattle? They're like anti-establishment.
Almost won. Yeah. I mean, that's where Lawrence is broadcasting live from right now.
Yeah, I'm in Seattle, and I can tell you that Katie Wilson is going to win the Seattle mayor's race by an incredibly thin margin. This is a person who was a busker at Pike Place Market. She has led a couple of nonprofits. She does not have the resume of somebody that you would expect to win a mayoral race in a city like Seattle that is very liberal and progressive and, generally likes to see, long resumes and competence in its leaders. She ran against Bruce Harrell, the incumbent mayor, who'd been on the city council, who'd been involved in Seattle politics for literally decades. Not a particularly beloved mayor, a bit of a technocrat, but she ran an insurgent campaign that was basically like, kind of F all this and let's start over and, hey, everybody, let's put on a big dance down at the barn kind of thing. And she's going to win. She's going to win by the thinnest of margins, but she's going to win.
There you go. I mean, and again, that's I think a big story, and that's what I mean, because it's hard to keep track of all of them. There are some ones out there. There was, where was the state Senate race? There's a state Senate race in one of these states where we flipped it by around by 40 points, as in lost by 20 just a short while ago and won by 20 in this special election. I mean, there just were results like that. The Georgia races, we had not won. We'd won the federal statewide races, Ossoff and Warnock. We had not won a statewide race, as in governor, secretary of state, any of the ones in Georgia, a statewide race since 2006. These are public utility commissioners. People might be a little pissed about how expensive their public utilities are. Oh, and by the way, also hate Trump. And they each won by, again, this is swing Georgia. This is a state that we barely won when we won the Senate seats and we beat Trump the first time 20. We lost it this last time 24 points. We won each of those races by. I mean, again, there's so much more where even I don't know, and we're missing where we so outperformed expectations. Again, we have a message. We sent the last few crusty old elites at the top of the Democratic Party do not represent their members. They don't represent the vast majority of their party or the country. And if we can just get them the hell out of the way. And again, folks, I'm careful about this stuff because Republicans do it all the time. There's no violence, okay? Get them the hell out of the way by voting them out. Get them the hell out of the way by getting their members to vote them out. Any negative PR you want to do to point out what shills they are, go for it. Never violent. I just always want to make that clear.
Yeah, and for all the disappointment that we all have over the Democrats in the Senate who caved, I think it's also fair to say that the way the Republicans are, the way that Donald Trump is, there will be more opportunities to fight the Republicans. There will be new things that we will be outraged about. So yeah, I mean, if the wind was sort of taken out of our sails because the Democrats caved after a week after this incredible election, sure, but I think the wind is going to pick back up again. Sometimes for reasons that have nothing to do with Democrats, but just because of Donald Trump's own narcissism and tyranny and authoritarianism and the effort by so many Republicans to protect him.
Can I say something too quickly? I wanted, because I think I'm actually optimistic after what happened. And I hope other people are too, because what you've seen after what happened is, again, stuff you've never seen from our party or rarely seen from our party before. They had 12 people in that room negotiating originally. 4 of them got up. Alyssa Slotkin, who's considered more of a moderate, said, nope, this is ridiculous. You're not going to even you're not even getting a guaranteed vote on the Obamacare subsidies. I'm out. So they lost they literally lost a third of the people that were in that room, got up and walked out. That's first. Second of all, you've heard again members like Chris Murphy and there's a few others speak about, and I'm sorry, they're doing it in the language of where they can hide it, but they are speaking about their own members who caved, as well as Schumer, in the kind of language you never would have seen before. You're also seeing every single Senate candidate of real Senate candidate for 2026 has ripped the crap out of this deal, has used words like they betrayed us, they screwed us over, they're being attacked by the people running, and then finally, members of the House, Ro Khanna called on Chuck Schumer to step down. Other members of the House, Jasmine Crockett said this was a ridiculous deal. We were betrayed, and things of that nature. I don't remember the whole thing. Like, they attacked their own members in the fiercest way I've ever seen. And that's, again, that is our majority. So yes, we got screwed by a couple who are at the top, who have seniority, who've been there fucking forever. And that is why they were able to do that. But the optimism should be there that there's so many others around, governors around the country, members in the House and Senate, up and comers who are like, this was the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and are ripping into them, and they're not hiding it.
And was
That's
it
who our party is.
Was it Ro Khanna who said something about not only should Chuck Schumer not be the Democratic leader in the Senate, but didn't Ro Khanna, I think he was the one who said, Democratic Senate leader Chris Van Hollen has a nice ring to it.
Yes.
That's one
of the ones I threw out there too. He's been terrific. I think Chris Murphy, I lean towards, but Tammy Duckworth, there have been a bunch who are fantastic.
Yeah. And for lawmakers like Ro Khanna and others in the House to not only say Schumer disappointed us, but here's who should replace him. To your point, Cliff, that takes it to another level. That's something you never would have seen in a Democratic caucus even 10 years ago.
Yep. So I hope people's reaction is actually to add this to the list of things like no kings and the election in the positive sphere, is that okay, these 8 SOBs and Schumer got their way this time, and maybe a couple others who quietly were with them, but again, it's coming for them. Like their day is over. They're kind of crappy, half-assed. Let's just try to go back to the way things were before Trump, as if that could happen, and as if anybody wants that to happen. They're done, and this is like a dying gasp of people that are on the way out, and there'll be a few more of these. We're going to have to fight with these people, but we'll get there.
Yeah, in my kind of sappy, happy ending sci-fi, if I was writing this story, maybe the silver lining to all of this catastrophe of Trump's second term is it is the thing that pushed the country so far that we are really going to clean house in a way that maybe we couldn't have if it hadn't been this circumstance that we're living through, right? Because the idea that these kind of entrenched senior corporate Democrats are actually feeling real backlash for the first time for making a bad decision, it's pretty revolutionary when you think about it. And I'm not sure that we could have experienced this in any other way. It doesn't mean that I'm happy about it or that the people who are starving on SNAP aren't starving. But it's a weird circumstance to kind of see that maybe if I'm being really optimistic, this is going to end up kind of for the better of American democracy overall. We just have to actually live through it.
Was that old saying that there's nothing quite like adversity to sort of to bring out the truth, or to bring out an opportunity for everybody?
Focus the mind or something like that.
Yeah. And we've got let's see, how am I pronouncing this? Cats and Jam. If you like cats, I like you right away.
It's like Cats and Jammer kids.
And Jammer. And this is important too, because again, Schumer in the end not only refused to endorse Mom Donnie, but refused to say that he voted for Mom Donnie. He's fucking done. I'm telling you all right now. Yeah, he's done. That's why he chickened out. He got such blowback after like what he did in March that he was too scared to even vote with the people. I mean, again, I didn't even write one of the data points, and I'm angry at myself for not thinking of it. I thought of the fact that a bunch of people reported it was about the filibuster, including Julie Radzinski, who we've had on this show, which again is a whole nother level of you're protecting the filibuster, the thing that kept civil rights. Right. I don't even want to get into it all. It makes me so sick. It's the first thing we should get rid of. But that his recruit, Janet Mills, comes out immediately and says, I'm going to protect the filibuster in Maine, which is one data point. But the fact that I didn't even think of the other data point, anybody who understands DC in any way knows The number two never does anything without the number one's approval. Dick
Right.
Durbin is the whip. He is the number two. There is simply, literally, I don't know how else to put it, 147% no chance that Dick Durbin signed on to this thing without talking to Chuck Schumer and getting the okay. No,
he admitted
chance.
it. They admitted it. They basically in an interview yesterday or the day before, he was asked, "Did leadership know about this?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, no, leadership knew." Like,
Right.
Of course, he absolutely knew the entire thing. You're right.
And how
for
you
sure.
know that he didn't even oppose it is because it's pretty simple. Had he opposed it, Dick Durbin's his number two. He would be like, don't put your name on that.
Right.
Yep.
You're part of this leadership group. We act together and it doesn't happen. Somebody just put in here, and I think this ends up being right. And yes, Durbin is on his way out, but Cynthia Rice, who one of our mods, who's awesome. I think this is what happens because I think Schumer's going to see the writing on the wall. AOC was up in a poll taken, and was it August or something like that, up
August,
19
yeah.
points in a primary. Gee, where do you think that is now?
Right.
I would be willing to bet you she leads him by 35 points in a
Who
primary.
owns
I'm not
the
kidding.
domain name AOC for NY2028.com?
That's right. We own that now. So anybody who wants to start ponying up money.
And Schumer's up in 2028, right? That's his. It's
Yeah,
not
he's up in
2028.
2028.
Yeah, I really think there's close to zero chance he runs. So I mean, again, the thing that we have to do is we have to keep promoting for and fighting for Democrats and who get it. And look, even independents. I mean, we all know that if our brand wasn't completely in the crapper because these types of people who just voted for this thing let it get there, somebody like a Dan Osborne in Nebraska is running as a Democrat. He's running as an independent because he fears he can't win there as a Democrat because that's what they've allowed to happen to our brand there. Like anybody who is with us on these kinds of issues, those are the folks that are going to be moving up into these positions of power. Like the average age, I'd love to take a look at the average age of the one. I mean, Durbin's in his 80s.
Yeah.
I think Schumer is pretty close if he's not. Angus King, I don't know. By the way, David, I never talked to you about this, but I thought about this. How much did he screw his son?
Oh yeah,
In that we interviewed his son, he seemed like a great guy, and he's running for governor in Maine. And now his son has to run with the name Angus King as an albatross.
Yeah.
His son's screwed now.
Yeah,
But,
unless he can make that governor's race about something that's not related to stuff at the federal level and Trump. But yeah, that was
he seemed like a good dude, and he was running as a Democrat. I wish him luck, but I don't think. And again, Angus King's another one who, I mean, he's been around forever. He's got to be somewhere close to, if not in his 80s. This group is on its way out. We need to fight.
And we may have the situation. I feel like I can't remember who else it was, but there was somebody else who, a son or daughter of one of the senators who's running for who?
Shaheen, her daughter.
Shaheen, who said no, my mom was wrong. And so maybe there's an opportunity for Angus King the third or the junior to say, I disagree with my dad on this. He shouldn't have caved.
Well, they should say, I mean, in both cases, but I would say just a hunch from the anger out there on this. If you want electoral viability, you're going to have to be willing to take it a step further and say, not only were they wrong, this is an incredibly short-sighted vote. You're going to have to actually insult your own mom or dad. Not like dad's a jerk, but say like this is an incredibly short-sighted vote. I think it's the worst vote of his career. I think it was ill-informed. I think you're going to have to find ways to really distance yourself if you're going to have any chance. I think just it was wrong isn't going to cut it. People are pissed, and they're rightfully pissed. But again, I still have so much hope. I really do think that in a way, I get it. It was a terrible moment. It harmed real people, although real people were harmed either way because Trump's a fascist a-hole. But like it comes down to, I do think that we're going to look back at this as one of those defining moments when the Democratic Party changed who it was and became the party we wanted to be. There are so many more of us than there are of them. And they're going to feel that soon. They can only insulate themselves for so long from public opinion. So
maybe if the Epstein files do bring down a lot of people in corporate America and on Wall Street, then that also thins away and rips away some of the financiers and people that establishment Democrats and other Democrats have felt beholden to. That if all of a sudden the CEO of this company, and this bank, and this financial
That's a great point.
is no longer there because they've been humiliated, well, that provides an opportunity then for lawmakers to say, oh, I'm not going to raise money from Goldman Sachs or Chase or anybody because they've got some issues. And that's an opportunity to break away from the dependency on that money.
You know, like I'm not the praying type, but I will pray to you, Jeebus. Sorry, I got that from The Simpsons. If you can put Bezos, Musk, and Thiel in there,
Oh yeah,
then I will be a believer. Tell me where to go and worship every Sunday, Saturday, Friday, whatever day.
Well-
I will be. Then you want me to believe? Oh my God, I will be born again.
Speaking of The Simpsons, though, Cliff, Matt Groening is in the Epstein file.
Oh God. I mean, see, that's the problem here. Is like
the
everybody
problem.
is. Like, I mean, it really is going to end up like ending people that we all, at least at this moment, like and have respect for. And we're going to learn that we shouldn't have. Because I've heard that there's some major rock stars in there, some major actors in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think they're going to be people that we're
Yeah,
but again,
I go back to your statement at the beginning where you're like, whoever it is, burn them.
no, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Whatever my feelings are for them at this particular moment does not matter. Because
Yep.
if you can't put that aside for the well-being of children, then to me, you're just like the Republican Party.
Yeah,
And
It
that's
was like,
also that's
well,
also
we
the-
get money from the NRA, so we're going to keep letting children die in school. Well, if I'm willing to say I still like that person when they knew that children were being abused and did nothing or were doing it themselves,
Yeah.
I'm just as bad. So no,
That's
No
also been
exception.
sort of, and that ties into what has long been sort of the ethos that many of us have had about journalism. And that is you report like hell, you let the chips fall where they may.
Yep.
You get the truth and you put it out there. And sometimes, it helps your personal views. Sometimes it hurts your personal views. Sometimes it helps your friends. Sometimes it hurts them. Sometimes the chips fall to support Democrats. Sometimes the chips fall to support conservatives. But you put it out there and let the chips fall where they may.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's always been my problem. And that's why I constantly go after corporate media, because it's not a pretend 50-50, he said, she said. If every time they would just report it as it happened, as I said, if 4% of the time it was Democrats and 96% of the time it was Republicans, that's what I want to see. If 37% of the time it's Democrats, and 63% of the time it's Republicans, that's what I want to see. And if in some crazy world, a majority of the time it's Democrats, that's what I want to see. Just do your fucking job. Just report it without fear or favor and sit there and say, I'm going to let the chips fall where they may, as David said, and report on what is going on truthfully, accurately, and in context. And then we'll all figure out who to support after that.
Right. Right. And like somebody in the chat is saying, and don't wait 3 years and publish it as a book later when you think you can make a bunch of money off of it, right? Report it in a time.
John Bolton, that worked out great for you.
Jake Tapper.
Yeah, Jake Tapper. He's probably oh my God.
That's a whole other show on all the crazy things Donald Trump has said just in the last week, including about magnets. Nobody knows about magnets. Huh?
My refrigerator knows something about them. Does that count? Anything else? We're 2:57. David has to leave at 3 to grab kids, although we don't believe in family balance here. We believe in all work. So David's not allowed to leave. No,
Right.
I'm kidding. We're all about it. But
I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to Lawrence and the merch. We have if people go to Substack and click on any of our Substacks in Blue Amp and click on the merchandise, and it's
Nice.
not just the Blue Amp merchandise that is amazing. I saw one, maybe it was a not safe for work T-shirt about roses and angels, and then it says "fuck Donald Trump." And then there's another one. There's another one.
Can you share? Is there any way for you to share it on screen here, Lawrence, being the smarty pants that you are?
And then there was another one that was something about shit's gotten so bad that even the introverts are out here, which I love.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. Some of those signs were just.
So for everybody who's, looking for a hat or a T-shirt or this is the shopping season when you want to, we're in a political era. We're in a political year. And if you want to give something to one of your family members or friends that's politics related, that reflects your views or their views or whatever it is, go to Blue Amp Substack, click on the merch, click on the Blue Amp Substack merch, the Blue Amp merch and the hats and the t-shirts and all that stuff. But look at all the other stuff there as well. It is awesome.
Yeah, hold on. I am actually trying to right now. Let's see if I can.
I've got it. It's up on the screen, Cliff.
You have an image? Okay, cool.
Oh, an image. You want an image? Okay.
I mean, I'm going to put an image in because you helped design this stuff, and this stuff is freaking brilliant.
Well,
and I think if people see it, they might go. Yep.
There's one piece that I'm super proud of. That is, it's this box hoodie. That it's all cotton. It's super soft and fluffy, and it's got our big BAM Smash logo on it. The really colorful one that looks like it comes right out of a comic book, and it's just.
I'm gonna have to find it.
I got it. Let me see if I can
the
put
one
it in
that
here.
has the BAM square on the shoulder, maybe.
Yeah, it's got a BAM square on the shoulder and then the big BAM Smash thing on the front, and it's just this really great hoodie, really well constructed, nice material. Something that you can wear and keep for a long time.
Well, this is annoying. Like, I just put it on my desktop, and one of the ones I just dragged it out of one of our letters, and it is not letting me put it into the. I wonder why would that be? Maybe the kind of file it is.
Yeah, so it looks like we're not allowed to put images into the chat. So, which it's probably
people can find it. It's great stuff, and it for everybody's like, oh my god, what I'm going to get my friends or family this year for Christmas or Hanukkah or any of that kind of stuff. We got your stuff.
Yeah, we do. You want to support us while you're also out there fighting for good. I mean, remember, folks, there we go. Thank you. Oh, well, that's what you'd put. Okay, there you go. There's the hoodie. Did you put that up, Lawrence?
I did. Yeah.
See, Lawrence can commandeer my account. It's kind of cool. So if he says something really, like, hey, can you tell people through there that I wrote the real McCain or no?
I can't, Cliff. It filters out lies.
Oh, okay, that's right. But no,
guys, I gotta run. Great show.
Great
to be on the program with you. Great to be working with you, Cliff. Terrific show as always. More fun tomorrow, you guys. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David.
All right.
Bye. All right, Lawrence. Do we have any other business here while we're just enjoying ourselves?
Man, honestly, I think it's in an hour. Adelita Grijalva is getting sworn in. I really want to kind of see that moment where she goes and becomes the 218th signature on that discharge petition, because like we've been talking about for the last hour with David, I really think it's a new era, right? Like if we actually get to that moment.
I also wanted, because I met her dad and he was such a fantastic guy. And, he lived his values. He didn't care. There's no, there's never the idea in the slightest of personal enrichment. All he wanted to do was take care of his people, take care of the United States, represent us, support us. And we lost him too soon. And I just have to believe that she probably, oh, there it is.
There it is.
You seeing it? Mace backed out.
Oh, sorry. Did we both just try to show it at the same time?
I guess so. I mean, that is what I was worried about, is that's what they're going to do.
Yep.
So, you know what? Good luck in your governor's run, Nancy Mace. You go ahead and do that, and you see how that works out for you. We'll have your house seat.
I really think that there is a fire that has been lit, that has been smoldering now, and people are absolutely going to crash out in this moment if we got this close. And Mike Johnson's scheming of keeping Adelita Grijalva unseated for 7 weeks is going to work.
You know what? One good thing it does is that the Schumer story is gone. This becomes a lead story that they were chickened out and Republicans blocked it again. And this stays. And again, how many different agencies have access to this stuff? Do these people really think that at some point it's not going to leak out? It already. In pieces is leaking out. Frankly, I don't know what I want, because I always, it's kind of like when we look at the shutdown versus the not shutdown. You never want people to suffer. I want people, and at the same time, you want the broader good for society. I want these women and everyone who suffered at the hands of these sons of bitches to get justice as soon as possible. But I have to admit, the PR side of me doesn't want it all to come out right away. Just keep leaking it little by little. Keep the story in the news. Keep making it. It keeps getting worse and worse all next year, and they will be destroyed.
Yeah. Come on. There's got to be somebody who's seen these documents who, managed to sneak a copy of something out in their stuffed in their pants, right? Like,
yeah,
who
it's
was it
going to
that did
happen.
that?
If Nancy Mace truly did switch on this, and then it's not going to change anything. It's going to change the timeline.
Right.
But I will promise you right now, too many places have these. There's simply no way, and we're going to keep getting little leaks like we've been getting, like today. If they think that that's going to help them, I wish Nancy Mace luck on this. If that is accurate, again, I'm going by what was said in the chat. I haven't clicked around to see if there's any stories out there yet. But if there are, and that's what she does, again, I think it's just going to, in the long term, make it worse for them. So.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like this is we are seeing this really protracted end, but I think that we are past the beginning of the end, and we are solidly in the middle at this point.
There you go.
And we don't know how it's going to shake out completely, but things are going to change, man. Things are going to change so big because of all of this.
That is kind of my thinking on all of it, on everything. From the no kings to the vote the other day to, the sort of courage of various elected and hoping to be elected and other Democrats who have said the kinds of things about those that betrayed us they never would have said in the past. Again, you can see some of this stuff everywhere. We're headed in that direction. And Donald Trump is an endless well of crime and sleaze, and there'll be just plenty of other stuff that will pop up.
Yeah, I just elevated a comment. We don't know if this is true. YouTube, thanks for your research, but is citing that they saw this on a subreddit. So take it with a grain of salt. But it has that ring of truth to it. That they paid her some gigantic sum of money for her governor's race.
Well, I always assumed they were going to do that with all of these guys. I mean, I assumed they tried to buy them all off. And so, but I see, like, what you're saying here, Cynthia Rice, which is, if some ex-DOJ official would leak the Epstein files, they would go to jail. They would. But I bring you the Pentagon Papers. And
right.
I mean, there are plenty of people that under risk of jail or went to jail, whistleblowers that have done this because they've seen it as that important.
In fact, I would argue that it is literally their patriotic duty, right? Like if somebody has evidence that Donald Trump or people connected to Donald Trump are deeply involved in this, it is your patriotic duty to let the American people know that our government is corrupt, that a pedophile is in charge. I would go to jail with pride for something like that, knowing that.
No, seriously. I mean, and there will be someone who I just, again, and I'm not even saying the DOJ, because my guess is it's at a couple other institutions inside the United States of America, be they public, private, wherever it may be, and then a whole bunch abroad. And I don't, sorry, they can't run out the clock that much. We got a whole year.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, listen, this may be one of the few times that we've done one of these where we were on one topic the entire time.
I mean, it's a pretty juicy topic. There's a lot of aspects to this to dig through, man. I feel a little bit like we're dumpster diving, like we can't not get covered in slime and stink, digging through all this stuff, but it's worth it because
is Ellie Leonard here? Is that her? Or is it I don't know. I assume so. She's so famous now. Maybe people are impersonating her. But hello, if you are here, Ellie, we've talked about you a whole bunch.
Yes.
We need to learn more. So we're going to reach out to you, and if you want to come on, maybe every show and do an Epstein update, we may add that as a regular segment. Ellie Leonard is here. Well, welcome, Ellie. If your ears may have been burning because we've been singing your praises for the better part of an hour.
You're right.
I'm
Hey,
gonna
confidential to Ellie, I'm gonna connect you with Cliff here, so that we can have a conversation.
yeah, just so you know, so just the three of us, so nobody else knows. I think we've got some stuff to talk about, Ellie. We'll be reaching out, but don't tell anybody. It's very private. Okay. Like the fact that I wrote the real McCain. Nobody knows.
It's a
Okay,
secret.
I'll stop. All right. Hey,
man,
I don't
thank you
know
for
if
having
there's
me on. Super fun time. I'm so psyched to be working with you and doing good stuff for Blue Ant Media. Yeah, I love being here, and it was super fun to hang with you and Schuster.
We are lucky, folks. Get used to that sexy bearded visage right there, because we are going to have Mr. Winterman. I mean, and with a name like that, seriously, maybe we'll just change the name of everything to Winterman. But we're going to have him involved a lot because I'm sure there's something out there he doesn't know how to do, but like, and I'm not going to get gross here. I'm talking about your standard stuff in business,
Right.
technology, operations, marketing, writing, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and you know me, I'm such a smart ass. You need to define parameters like that. Otherwise, I'm going to take
I
you
know it,
places.
because you're going to turn this into an OnlyFans in a second. So
speaking of 87 accounts, that goes to a different account. Like the OnlyFans money goes to a different account, Cliff.
Hey guys, would you get like a paid subscription if Lawrence got an OnlyFans that ran through here? Because we can do that. Like, we have all sorts of offerings. I will tell you this, in all honesty, and before we do really say goodbye, I'm excited as hell because the conversations we've been having, what we're going to do with Substack, what we're going to do with various other platforms, what we're going to do with YouTube, we've got merch coming up. We've got special kind of like master classes about interesting things coming up. We've got special, broadcasts about topics going beyond, what you know already. David Schuster and I are ready to tell you some of the backstory of corporate media and politics in DC and the grossness that we've seen. All sorts of ideas. We're bringing on new people. We're moving forward. I'm excited as hell. And Lawrence is a big reason why that's happening. So I'm thankful to David, who's helped immediately when he joined make this so much better. I'm thankful to Lawrence, who has helped make this so much better. I hope you guys embrace it and join. Again, if you want to get a paid subscription to the Substack, it is blueamp.co. You will not regret it with all that we have coming up. Trust me. If you want to check out our merch, we put that earlier. Some of those designs, like, did I have some input? Sure. Hopefully some ideas are good. Lawrence, again, another thing Lawrence does, because Lawrence decided that there shouldn't be too many things he doesn't do. So he helped design that too. And like that looks incredible. We got some shit coming up, guys, and it's good.
It's really good
very,
stuff.
very good. We can fight democracy while also fight for democracy while also hopefully providing you guys with the best entertainment, the best merch, the best everything possible. That's the plan. Hopefully we'll live up to it. And even my big mouth has run out of things to say at this point. So, do you have, and we should say, as Jim Williams said here,
yeah, thanks. Daily Whatever Show. I co-host with my partner in crime, Dana Dubois, best friend for 47 years. I helped found Banner and Backbone, and but I'm so excited to be here and be a part of Blue Ant Media, because we're really going to do big things. Like Cliff he's not blowing smoke. We've really got some huge stuff planned for the very, very near future. And we're so excited that people are here and participating, because it's going to be a hell of a ride. I promise.
It sure is. So you've got, as Lawrence told you, at 10 a.m. Every day, you can catch the Daily Whatever Show at Gen Xy. Other programming note, tomorrow we've got Egberto Willies, brilliant dude, coming on our Substack only show. That's one you got to be at Substack for. And subscribe to comment there. That will be the usual time, 2 to 3, amped up, our Substack only version. And anything else, I believe I may have a special live I'm doing with a good friend tomorrow, which I'll send out some notifications about too. But I want to 100% confirm that before I talk about it. And we'll just keep getting our usual columns and good cheer.
Hey, one last thing. Kinky
Yes.
Street is pointing out that
I'm sorry, I have to laugh at that.
no,
And we'll get Ellie fired so she can join us.
That's a great one. But look at this. We knew that Schlossberg was running. Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Did you?
No, I didn't mean. I clicked on that by mistake. Go for it.
Yeah. JFK's grandson running for Nadler's House seat.
Wow. I think Adler is stepping down, right? I think he's in his 80s. He's at that point. And again, you know, I as a person, I've met Nadler too. By the way, we just happen to have come up with a few people I've met. I haven't met most of them. So, but he always seemed like a really, really good guy. I think he's an honestly nice guy, whatever. I think generational change is important there. We're ready for that. And that's a classic example of where we're going to be switching over to that next generation that is going to know how to use social media, know how to authentically talk to a camera on their own, know how to engage with influencers and how to campaign these days and fight the fuck out of fascism. Triple alliteration, folks, extra points.
Yeah.
And Schlossberg's already proven it by going directly after I think it's his uncle, Mr. Whale's Head, Dead Cub, Worm Brain, and any other weird story you can come up about when it comes to that freak. Okay, we've said this numerous times right now, and that's important too, Jim Williams. And Gerald Nadler didn't have to get pushed out. No, he actually decided we're moving on to the next era. Maybe a few other people could take that hint too. Yeah. But I really am going to say we are finished. It's been fun. An hour and 15 minutes longer than usual. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, David, for being here. Thank you, Jim and Cynthia and everybody else. Thank you, Ellie, for popping in. Thank you, everybody, for the great questions and the support. I will end as I always do. As the sun sets slowly in the west, my friends, I bid you a fond farewell. Take care.